Hello, this is John from River Fellowship Church, and we just wanted to make this video tonight to tell you a little bit about what we're doing and what we've been doing. We started what you might call a street ministry, a ministry to the impoverished neighborhoods, to homeless people. This will be our second year. We started in 2019. We go out into the community between 3 to 5 days a week, just serving the needs there. And a basic philosophy in 2 words that you could put together for our ministry is word and deed ministry. We have never really publicly put forward what we do. That was not our purpose or our intention. Our purpose and intention was simply to honor Jesus Christ, to what he's called Christians to do in his word. But because of the current situation, a lot has happened in 2020. We've had COVID-19, which has resulted in an economic crisis, and now we also have a racial crisis that is running through America. And it was very heavily and strongly put on our heart 2 to 3 months ago about the reason to go public. And so with that, we're going to just talk a little bit about what we're preparing to do tomorrow morning and why. And maybe shortly I'll make just a few comments on how it's relative to the times. I'll give you a verse from the Bible where it speaks of Esther. Many of you are Christians. Maybe you recall the story of Esther, where God had providentially arranged for her to be married to the king of a nation who at that time was enslaving the Israelite people, and she was a Jew. And her uncle came to her and asked her to go to the king to help the people, and that could cost her her death. But she made a remark, her husband made a remark, her uncle made a remark to her: Esther, I believe you were born for such a time as this. And what we want to say to you, we were all born, when we were born, by the sovereignty of God, for something important that each of us is called to do. We are just a simple husband and wife. We ran a very small house church under the bishopship of Lee York with the Body of Christ International Fellowship. He was the one who got us our start and oversaw us. After about a year of running a house church, we felt called into the community, into word and deed ministry. And that has led us to do what we do. We bring the gospel, and we also bring the deeds that accompany the gospel. And so today, what you see behind us is in response to, we have here in South Florida, Hurricane Isaias that has just now passed by the shore of the coastline of Florida, and luckily we were spared as it stayed out to sea. But in preparation for the hurricane, some of the communities that we minister to, one of the largest ones is in a local park called John Prince Park, and there's about 150 homeless people there, and that's the largest group that we minister to. Some groups are, there's only maybe 10, 15 people, but in this particular group, they were ordered to move out due to the hurricane. Most of them did, but some of them did not. For those who did not, they hunkered down as best they could, but that created some problems because the park closed. Police officers were guarding the gate because of security reasons, and they didn't want people there, to get harmed when the hurricane came through. So those people who remained had no food, no water, totally cut off from the outside. And so through people that we knew, we would get phone calls, of different situations. And so we brought people water, we brought them food, as they were, a lot of them were taking down their tents, or different areas that they didn't feel safe or secure about. And so we helped them prepare. We helped some people to get out of the community into different places of safety, either friends or shelters. But as of today, we just went back. Some people needed some clothes. Their clothing had gotten wet, and they were very hungry because there are multiple ministries, about 3 or 4 different ministries that serve there and bring food, but now there's no one to bring food because it's closed down. So we've been filling that gap, meeting them at the gates, giving them food. So tomorrow morning, still nobody's had food or water or anything, showers, and they're still there waiting for the park to be reopened when the governor declares it safe. And so we have gotten what we have. This is what we do. So behind me, we have juice, we have coffee that we'll be bringing out, we have eggs. We're going to be making scrambled eggs, we're going to be making grits, we're going to be making hash brown potatoes, and bringing out a couple cases of water, so that those, I'd say from our knowledge, there's probably about 20 to 30 people. We're hoping that this will be enough, but at least it's something. And then hoping, that by tomorrow evening, the park will be open, and then people with greater resources will be able to come in and feed the people dinner, etc., as people start to return. So that's what we do. What you see behind us is what we do. And as you can see, we live in a small, modest home, and the ministry is small. It's me, my wife, and homeless volunteers, believe it or not, the people who, we do have a few people from churches that give us coffee and different things to bring out there, and who donate clothing. But the foot laborers are mostly homeless people who have volunteered and join us. We go out, they're our foot labor, they help us to serve, they help us to set up the tables and food that were donated. And so this is what we do, but here's the message in a nutshell. We're going to do about several messages, maybe over several weeks, explaining the concept of our ministry. But this is what I hope is able to be heard and understood. We are in a place and time where, just like Esther, God has appointed us, just as we are in our homes. Jesus took a little boy with a couple loaves of bread and a couple fish. Why? Because that little boy took what he had. That's the key. To take what you have, put it to service for the Lord. The size of it is irrelevant. God uses our faithfulness. That's our message. And it has been put on our heart very strongly that if the church is to be relevant in these times that is approaching us, it is going to come from a grassroots movement of common, ordinary people. We have 2 kids. We both work for the school district. We both make just enough to get by and a little more. But we take what we have and we go out into the community to make a difference with word and deed. This simple concept, although, look, I'm talking about 2 words, word and deed. But behind that is an encyclopedia of knowledge of how these 2 elements change the world. That's what we want to speak to you about. We're showing you what we do and what we're saying to you prophetically and confidently. That if we as the church and the people of the church do not step up to minister in, it can be creative, but different ways like this, where normal men and women who attend church are becoming active in the community, the church will not only be oppressed, it will become irrelevant. And we're even going to explain the reasons how that's going to happen, why it's going to happen. And those pieces, like on a chessboard, are already being put into place. Already you see these things on the horizon and in the media that a lot of people don't understand are going to make the church not only irrelevant, but persecuted. So we want to explain to you why a simple ministry like this is so critical, how you can be involved, and how you can make your life count forever. So we just want to thank you. We enjoin you to come back to listen to our other messages of how the ministry works, why it works. And my wife Tasha will be able to join us. She's in her pajamas tonight, so she's not behind the camera with me. This is just a last minute thing that we finally said God is calling us to do this. So we are committed to it. We're going to be making about 10 to 15, hopefully a little shorter than tonight. We're going to try to make about 10 to 15 minute messages and maybe have about a dozen that will explain how we, as a Christian grassroots ministry, can do what the first century church did and change the world. So thank you for joining us. Good night.